Okay, so we've all seen AI that can chat, right? It can write poetry, answer some trivia, but what happens when we want it to move beyond just words and start taking real actions in the world? Well, that leap from conversation to execution introduces a massive challenge. How do you maintain safety, control, and accountability? In this explainer, we're going to break down a system designed to do exactly that. So, what's the fundamental shift we're talking about here? It's the difference between an AI that can suggest a code change and one that can actually commit it to the repository. Or think about an AI that can draft an email versus one that can go ahead and execute a financial transaction. We're talking about empowering AI to act on our behalf. And believe me, that changes everything. And this really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? I mean, it's one thing for a chatbot to get a fact wrong. Annoying, but okay. It's a completely different thing for an autonomous agent to execute the wrong command on a critical system. The stakes aren't just higher, they're in a totally different universe.
This comparison really nails the gap we need to bridge. AI chat, it often works on what you could call opaque vibes. You get an answer, but you don't really know how it got there. But when an AI is taking action, vibes just aren't good enough, not even close. We need solid guardrails to prevent mistakes, we need traceability to understand exactly what happened, and, this is crucial, where chat gives you zero receipts, an AI that acts has to provide undeniable proof.
So, how do you build an AI that can actually meet these incredibly strict requirements? The solution we're looking at is a human-in-the-loop system called the NCAI Execution Substrate. Now, think of a substrate as the foundation, like the bedrock that every single action is built on top of. A bedrock of safety and control. And here is the core promise: safe, auditable autonomy. What that really means is that the AI can get to work independently, but we never, ever lose ultimate control. And just as important, we're never left scratching our heads wondering what the system just did. There are no mystery states. Everything is out in the open.
Okay, so how does this system actually deliver on that big promise? Let's follow the journey of a single, safe action all the way from your click to the final verifiable record.
This whole process is called the chain of trust. It all starts with you, the user, interacting with the interface. And from that point on, every single step is designed for safety and clarity. There's a policy check, then your explicit approval, then a gated, controlled execution, a full recording of the state, and finally, a cryptographic receipt. Let's unpack the most important pieces of this right now. So the first pillar of safety is what's called gated autonomy. Think of it like a bouncer at a really exclusive club. First, only commands on the approved list, the allow list, are even allowed to get in line. But even for those pre-approved commands, the bouncer still comes back to you for a final thumbs up before letting them run. This two-step process is your primary defense against any oops moments. Right, so the action is approved and it runs. What happens next? Well, the system makes sure that absolutely nothing is left to chance. Every single run gets a unique ID and a state file that records everything: the output, any errors, the exit code, the whole shebang. This completely gets rid of that "what just happened" fog. You can trace any action back and see exactly what occurred. And we're not just talking about a simple log file here. To really capture the level of detail we're talking about, the source material uses this brilliant analogy: accountant grade logging. Every single action is treated like a financial transaction, with a meticulous, verifiable record that would make an accountant proud. And here's what one of those records, a receipt, actually looks like. You've got everything you would need for an audit: who did it, the exact command they ran, the timestamp, and even a cryptographic hash of the output. This isn't a vibe. This is cold, hard, verifiable evidence. Now, this is where it gets really clever. Each new receipt contains a hash, a cryptographic fingerprint of the receipt that came right before it. This creates a linked chain, kind of like a blockchain. So if anyone tries to go back and alter a past entry, even by a single character, the hashes will no longer line up. The chain visibly breaks. It becomes tamper evident. That history is secure. So that's the mechanics of it. But what's the big picture? The strategic payoff? We've seen how it works. Now let's explore why building this foundation matters so much. Well, the payoff for this approach is massive. First, it creates a secure runway, which lets more advanced AI assistants operate without us constantly fearing some catastrophic error. It also offers a sovereign, local-first alternative to all those opaque cloud tools, which means your data and your processes stay under your control, not some third parties.
And finally, it builds accountability in from day one. So as the system scales up to more users, that framework for governance is already baked in.
When you put it side by side, the contrast with typical automation tools is just stark. They're often opaque black boxes. This approach is provable. They're controlled by a cloud provider. This is local first. They're often impossible to really audit. This is bound by clear, enforceable policies. It's a fundamental shift in who has the control and the transparency.
All of these features, the gated autonomy, the receipts, that cryptographic chain, they all serve one ultimate purpose. They're all the building blocks for a much larger idea.
And this is it. This is the goal. You're not just building features, you are architecting a foundational trust layer. It's this layer, this bedrock of trust, that gives us the confidence to finally let an AI move from just talking to safely doing real, impactful work for us.
And that brings us full circle. This trust layer, built on guardrails, receipts, and forensic traceability, this is the critical component that separates a simple AI chat from a true AI that can act.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. If you had an AI where every single action was perfectly provable, completely auditable, and always under your control, what's the first truly meaningful task you would trust it to do? The possibilities are pretty fascinating to consider.